Nice conversation tonight.
Yeah, good night, everybody. We're here live on Facebook. We're gonna have a special edition tonight of the Law and You. Kunchi is, of course, hosting because we're on his page.
Lovely. Yeah, come one, yeah, come hall, and then me. A lot of people been reaching out to me for liars, for this and all these fancy things. Here, so okay, good. Caribbean mix up, pleasant good night to you. Please, there's no mix up tonight. Only mix is I just be mixing it. Let me make sure that I'm. Oh yeah, now I'm seeing the streaming. So all information that you guys want to know tonight, you're gonna definitely know. I we know, like I said, I have Miss Washington here on the live also too. She is a lawyer, not a makeup one. She's a certified lawyer. Like I always tell you guys, if you're going to break the law, whatever you're going to do, you have to lawyer up. You have to secure yourself. So you guys come in and we're gonna have some nice conversation tonight, and you guys can feel free to ask question and no scamming. Remember, don't be throwing down yourself. We know it's Christmas time, and the place get icy and all these things. Everybody's looking for make a bag. Like I said, we're gonna do it the right way, and anything happen to you guys through the process. Also, we're gonna be talking about some prenup, post-nup. Yeah, both. The prenup is before you get married, and after marriage, then there's a post-nup. A lot of guys, you guys don't even know about these things. So how do I even know these things? So I just fit myself in situation. So once again, I want to say, Miss Washington, good night. And let's get into this little chit chat. We're streaming on Facebook and we also streaming on TikTok. So you guys who have question for lawyers, yeah, need lawyer question. If she can answer it, she will answer it fairly for you guys.
Yeah, good night, Kunchi. Good night to everyone, and thanks for having me. Thanks for hosting me tonight on your platform. Again, I would just introduce myself. I'm attorney Shellon Washington. My office is located in Brooklyn, New York. I'm also licensed in Guyana. I'm licensed in Trinidad and Tobago also. And I do limited practice also in the state of New Jersey. So I think tonight we're going to be talking about, first, we're going to get into some prenup, postnup, and then we could get into a few other things. This is just to help you understand the whole process. A lot of times people come to the United States and they already build their life in other countries, they already have assets. Or sometimes somebody come from foreign and they want to marry you, and the person, you already established your life here in the United States, and you agree to either bring a person and get married to the person, or you agree that you meet somebody here, you want to marry that person, right? So one of the things that is really important for people to understand is like, what is a prenuptial? When is a prenuptial required? When you should get one or when you should not think about getting one. And I think one of the most important things is, if you're going to file for somebody to come and live, you have to do the affidavit of support. Once you decide, okay, I'm going to marry somebody who's illegally present in the United States, you need to protect your asset. Because number one, you're going to be looking at a situation that if it doesn't work out, if the relationship doesn't work out, and you end up divorcing the person, you got to ask yourself the question, like, what's going to happen? Is the person going to sue you for support? Is the person going to ask for half of your assets? Like, what's going to happen? Kuchinga, Guyana, traditionally, we don't have that problem, right?
Yeah, we don't get it. We don't play. Where you come with, that's where you're going with.
Exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
hard process, especially when you're fighting for stuff in Guyana. It's really hard. But I know over here, so oh Jesus Christ, let me married with nothing, so nobody got to take nothing.
Exactly. It's way different in the United States. And that's kind of like a shock for some people, that they're coming here and realizing that you could actually marry a person with asset and then you could walk away with something versus walking away with nothing. And all you literally have to do to get a person's, like, if you want to get their social security well, it's a retirement payment from social security, all you have to do is be married for at least 10 years minimum. And if that person worked for 30 years in this country and would be collecting a social security payment of, let's say, $4,000 a month, you're going to be entitled to a portion of that if you survive that marriage for at least 10 years, right? Regardless, you will be entitled. As long as you survive that marriage for 10 years, the law says you're going to get a portion of that person's social security check, right? But when it comes to the person's asset, people gotta be conscious and know how to protect themselves. If you're gonna go bring a man or a woman from Ghana, you say you're gonna marry that person, you want to make sure you cover your bases, because if you do make foolish mistakes, you're gonna pay the cost for it. Because it could go both ways, right? The person who come to Ghana could come here, get an education, go back to school, and they could exceed you. They could move up faster than you. Or it could go the other way, that the person comes from Ghana and they just can't surpass the whatever you have accomplished for the time you've been in the US. So you would have acquired house, would have acquired assets, stocks, whatever it is you invested in. You want to be able to protect that. So before you even marry the person, that's where the prenuptial comes into play. You go and you speak to a lawyer. You can call my office. My number is 718-877-3100. You call my office number and we'll sit with you and your partner, and we will devise a plan that is, suitable for you and that person in terms of what you're trying to protect. Most people are going to be trying to protect things that they already have, because anything you build with your spouse is going to be marital, but anything you have before your spouse. So for instance, if you have a medical license, that license is valuable and important to you. You want to protect that license. You don't want a situation where, okay, you marry somebody and then you find out later on that the person is going to be getting spousal support based on the license you have way before you met that person. You understand? You want to be able to be in a position where you're going to protect any asset that you acquired before. In the context of immigration, like I said, you're going to be signing an affidavit of support anyway. You're going to be swearing that you're going to support your spouse no matter what, right? Because you have to sign that affidavit of support. And once you do that, you definitely commit to yourself to providing for that person for a period of time. But you could avoid the whole situation that happens very often when it comes to equitable distributions in court, meaning you don't have to be saying, okay, I have to take my assets and split it and give this person 50% or whatever. You wouldn't have to do that if you have a prenup. That's going to cut that whole portion of going to court and fighting over asset and make the divorce process very smooth and easy. And you could get a divorce very quickly and be done with that. So that's in essence, in a summary, Kunchi, the prenuptial, right? I'm pretty sure you probably know of instances where people get in the situation where they marry somebody and then the issue comes up is what to do, right? Because they have assets and they don't want to have to go through this whole process of going through a divorce and having to split the asset or anything like that. So that's pretty much a summary. The other thing is the post-nuptial. The post-nuptial is a little bit more difficult because that one is done after you marry.
After the marriage.
Right. And the question is, who is going to be willing to sign a post-nuptial after the wedding?
I would, because I always tell myself I don't want anything from anybody. So I think I would. So
I
let's
think
go through the whole process of the post-nup.
Yeah, I think in the context of a man would be more willing to say, okay, I'm going to sign a post-nuptial, but it probably will be more difficult for a woman because most women rely on men for support. You understand? So I think in the context of a woman, it will be a little bit more difficult for a man to tell a woman, okay, could you sign this post-nuptial? But there are women who will do that to prove like they're not there just for the man's money. They're there because they kind of love the person and they want to be in a serious relationship with the person. But the post-nuptial, that only, like I said, it only comes into place after you marry the person and you sit down and you have a conversation with them and you say, well, here, could we enter into a post-nuptial? Because I foresee a situation where, I work really hard, I have assets already before I marry you, and I'm accumulating more assets based on a degree that I already had before I met you. Like, for instance, the medical license. You could say, okay, I had this medical license before I met you, but I don't want to have a situation where I become more wealthy, and then I have to pay spousal support and give you part of my assets or anything like that. So my preference is let's deal with this. Let's do a post-nuptial. and then both parties can consult with an attorney and get the postnuptial prepared. The postnuptial is going to spell out exactly what are they trying to protect, whether it's a house, a pension, business, whatever it is. That's what the postnuptial is going to actually protect,
So
right?
people not married in for love anymore and just put aside all those.
You see, the thing is, Kuji, people do marry for love a lot, but the problem is sometimes the love wax cold. People know this. Sometimes you're in love with a person head over heels today, and then in a year, 2 years, 3 years from now, the love wax cold. And when the love wax cold, that's when the problems start. Or worse yet, a third party could get involved into the relationship. And then if a third party get involved in the relationship, that's even more problems. Now you have to think about, okay, the person fall out to love with you and the person want to go their own way. So just to create a situation where you're going to be at peace and not have to be at war, because I'm telling you, I've seen so many people go through divorces and it drains the life out of some people, right? Because they're stressed out, they're wondering if they're going to have a good judge, if they're going to have a bad judge. Like, I've had instances where a judge, an ignorant judge too, she's very ignorant. I don't think that judge is very learned of the law, where she tells a client that the children, I think, were at the time 16 or 17. And she's like, oh, the children are almost aged out. Like, she don't even know why the lady's trying to get child support. And I think that's ignorant of that judge, because it doesn't matter. As long as you're under a certain age, the law says the parent that has you, the custodial parent that has the children, is entitled to spousal to child support. So there's no way around though. But and just to be clear, a post or a prenuptial can't protect you from paying child support. The only thing it could do, if you want to say, like, if the parties have children, they'll keep the joint custody, and that, they're each going to be responsible for paying whatever portion, taking care of the child on their own, right? They could contract that way, but you can't really contract your way out of child support. You got to pay that. That's something you can't use a prenuptial to get your way out of. But you could get your way out of spousal support, maintenance, alimony, same thing. You could get your way out of that through a pre or post-nuptial, whichever one you choose. And like I said, it's not that people don't marry for love. It's just sometimes the love get wax cold. And if the love waxes cold, then the problem is people often end up filing for divorce rather than seeking counseling to see if there's a way for them to salvage the relationship. We live in a, what we
Seems,
call it,
seems,
a fast-paced country. So people just move on.
seems that you would have mentioned that particular one, but the child support, right? If you take off a child support, is it possible you can put it on back?
If a woman choose to, or a man, because either parent could have the child, right? And if one of the parent decide that, hey, they don't want to have child support anymore, they're going to cancel it for the time being, yeah, as long as the child is under the statutory age, you could go
Mhm.
back at some point in the future and say, okay, I'm going to restart the child support.
Okay,
Because,
okay, okay.
yeah, because sometimes people, they reunite or they rekindle the relationship, they get back together, so they remove the father from child support or remove the mother, whichever one, and then they realize the relationship is not working out like it wasn't in the beginning. So now they need to go and put back the other party on the child support so that they'll have enough funds to take care of that child. I mean, these things are normal. It happens every day. People could remove a person and then replace the person. It happens. It happens.
Yeah, but that's what so cause somebody in the comment section, I think they're dealing with that situation, and I think that the father of the child is trying to be kind of cute right about now so that she could actually get get her to take off the child support, and recently he's not even paying the full money. What I mean, he's zagging, what I mean. So I would have think, well, I'm glad that you made that noticeable, that she can go back and put on back the child support. So even if the husband is in the comment section or he's watching, just know that you have to pay. If she take off that child support, just know that she can go and get it reinstated back, and then you will be back to paying those 500.
Or whatever it is, 17%. 17% in the state of New York of your salary. So child support is no joke. So this whole thing about love and divorce, and it's kind of complex, and it pushes people to places that they don't want to be. That's why I'm saying, like, in order to protect yourself in any situation, the best thing is get yourself pre or post nuptial. Get yourself something, protect yourself. The truth is, Coochie, if somebody loves somebody, it wouldn't be a problem to sign a post-nuptial or a prenuptial. They'll say, you know what, regardless of what happened, I would not want to hurt you, so I'm gonna sign it.
But you see, we as Guyanese, we don't really go through the whole post snap and the prenup because we know most of the time when we marry to people, there's no certain money nobody account. Sometimes most time in marriage in Guyana is like when you don't marry, you can live by your mother house. You're still gonna move in with your auntie. It's like never they spend most of the money that they have to facilitate the wedding. And after the wedding is back to square one. You broke, we broke, we gotta make life. It's not like here in the US you always got something put aside, me, for the wedding is.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. Here in the United States, you always have assets. People are always looking for ways. And this is the country of rags. People come with rags and they move to riches. Rags to riches. Literally, one smart idea could just take you all the way up to the top. And so people are always looking for ways that they can protect those assets for your children to leave a legacy behind. And if you're one of those people, you definitely would want to consider the fact that in the event something happens, you want to make sure that your assets is protected, your interest is protected. Nobody could penetrate that prenuptial or postnuptial. Nobody could get by it. They have to stick to the script. You understand? And I think that's the main thing, because the truth is, Kunchi, if you fragment wealth, it's meaningless. But if you're able to build wealth and keep it in one place, like building a trust or something, and keep it in one place, is best for all the parties involved. It's best for your children, it's best for you. And this is why people have to be very careful not to wanting to have a situation where you're divorcing and then your wife comes and she says, oh, she wants this. I'm dealing with a situation right now with a case where older gentleman marry a much younger woman. I think maybe like a difference with 20 something years, close to 30 something years difference between the parties.
She waiting patient fee.
Exactly. Because now he is in the nursing home, and she has been trying to just, he had all of his assets before he even met this woman, before he even met her. And foolishly,
Somebody
because
getting
love
rich.
makes people do foolish things. You understand? Love make people do foolish things.
So SD as he would have sent that comment, she said, but I was married, divorced, and never received child support or alimony. All I got was full custody.
Well, she probably didn't want anything, because which state was she in? Because there's no way, if you have the children, unless you were the income earner in the house. And even if she's the income earner, child support is a right of the children. They have a right to have the support of both parents. So it's no way under the sun, if you're in New York, New Jersey, if you're in the United States, you're entitled to, and you're going to get child support one way or the other. Maybe she's not in one of the states here, because that's unusual. If you're the non-money spouse, even if you're the money spouse, you're entitled to child support because it's a right of the children.
So
It's
this is the next
non-renewable.
question. Roxanne Backer say, I don't know what you are talking about. Both parties should come up with half of the amount for the wedding. Sometimes it don't always happen. Sometimes the wife don't have no money. Sometimes the wife have money and the male don't have no money. I witnessed this many times. Sometimes some female married for love just because they wanna hold the man and all these things. So they buy ring, buy clothes, every single thing.
Hmm. And I mean, I'm not clear on why she's saying what half. We're not speaking about that. We're speaking about the case where one party has money, the money spouse. The money spouse most likely would want to protect their interest, their property, their wealth from it being dissipated by the other spouse. Um, I mean, there are instances where people pay 50-50 for a wedding. The man pay 50% or the woman pay 50% for the wedding, but we're not focused on the wedding. We're focused on what happens after the wedding.
Oh,
Like
oh,
what
oh
happens?
yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yes.
where does the wealth
Be-
go if something support
because
if
most
money
time it's Washington,
support?
there's always a fallout. And after
Yeah,
that fallout, we want to know who. Okay, let me say for some people, they're going into a relationship with nothing, but definitely they want to come out with a lot of things.
that is true. That always happens. I know an instance where one woman sponsored a man and brought him to the US. Unfortunately for him, he turned out to be the money spouse and she turned out to be the no money spouse. But she's the one who sponsored him. She brought him to this country, right? And by the time they were divorcing, he was working and he's the one who wanted the divorce because he wanted to move on with his life. He wanted to get a younger girl and enjoy his life. And the woman was the less money spouse. She was working not even a quarter of what he was working for. So he was the moneyed spouse. So at the end of the day, he had to pay support. And then the property that he purchased with her, that he paid the whole time, the mortgage, right? Because she couldn't afford to pay anything. He bought every single thing in the house, but he had to end up supporting this woman. And the house was sold, and he had to split the value of the equity in the house with her 50-50, right? These things happen. I mean, he didn't have to do it 50-50. It could have been a different number, but he would have had to go to trial and all of that. So to
And
avoid that,
that's another long process.
the trial is a
But
lengthy process.
and I think this would cause a little confusion of even if you're thinking of buying stuff in your name and not your partner name. Is there still entitled to whatever you have, even though it's not in their name?
hmm it's called marital asset. Anything that was used with marital funds in the marriage, the marital funds would come from your employment. So if let's say you married on June 1st, right? You Before June 1st, you had an employment. Let's say you were working with MTA for 5 years prior to June 1st of this year. Everything before June 1st is considered separate property. But once you get married on June 1st, everything and counting down until a divorce or something is considered marital. So your income is marital. Any asset you purchase during the marriage is marital. Even if you pay in a mortgage on a property you own before you marry the person, because you're using your income that is considered marital income to pay the mortgage, the house becomes partially marital asset. That's why the prenup is important. It's really important. Like if you would do something like that up front, you would avoid yourself a lot of stress, a lot of headache. In terms of going back and forth to determine how much of your property should be going to the spouse. There's
Yeah,
another case
yeah,
I know.
but Miss Washington,
Mhm.
most relationship or marriage when you get into it and you like try to get people to sign, people don't want to sign because they say they're married in for love and it shouldn't be nothing but signing. Like for me, if I going into a marriage and the probably my partner tell me they want me for sign this, I think I would sign it because I know what are my intention, what's the reason for going into a relationship. I don't want it look like I rebelling because next to morning we gonna fall out and I want have to. So you know what I mean. I think it brings a red flag when you don't want to sign it. And a lot of people in the US when they hear about prenup, that's a big problem.
But you see, I think most of the times is like a kind of mentality from us coming from the Caribbean, because a lot of people here do enter into prenuptials. And if I were a person wanting to marry somebody, they said the person come from Guyana or somewhere else, and I want to marry the person, and they don't want to enter into the prenup with me, that would be a deal breaker. Because if everybody treated it as a deal breaker and said, well, if you don't sign it, I will not be getting married. We can continue to live together, but there's
Mhm.
not going to be any marriage. Then it will show the person that you're serious, because why wouldn't they want to sign the prenuptials? You understand? Because if they do sign it, it shows they're entering into the marriage with good faith. Because obviously, if you
Exactly.
see
Good
somebody
intention.
entering into a relationship with you, knowing very well that you will never give them your assets, that will more likely to move you to say, well, you know what? I'm going to give you something. I'm going to will some part of my estate to you, or I'm going to make sure I make provisions for you. Because men do not, if a man loves a woman, he will make provisions for that woman. You understand? On the other hand, women are reverse. Women does not give to men, rarely, rarely. So, so it's unlikely
Lady
that
are
a
here for
woman would
yourself. They, they don't give nothing,
it would be
but they are willing to
unlikely.
take. Women are takers by nature. Don't argue.
Exactly. Women take, they are takers. So it's unlikely that a woman with a lot of assets will be making provisions for a man. But men usually, if they love a woman, they'll make provisions for that woman. And before I continue, I want to answer this question. I see Roxanne is asking a question. Well, she was referring to the situation I mentioned earlier about the woman marrying the man and bringing the man to the United States. She's asking, was the woman responsible for the sponsorship for a few years? And that's yes. The answer is absolutely yes. But that doesn't mean in a situation like that, the man would want to just, because it was much more expensive for him. She was working for 20 something thousand dollars a year, and he was close to $100,000. So he suffered a big loss because he had to support her for 3 years plus give her 50% of the value of the house. So for me, I'm thinking he suffered the biggest loss because even when he came here, she didn't take care of him for very long. He stayed a few months when he found a job and he was working. And he was always taking care of, once he got here, he was always taking care of all of the bills in the home. So in a case like that, you would say, okay, maybe a prenuptial would have been good because then it would have just determined exactly up front what this woman would have been entitled to. Because honestly, who wants to be a slave? Because that's essentially what happens to you when you become the money spouse and you don't protect yourself with a pre or a post nuptial. You understand? If you don't do that, you don't protect yourself, you leave yourself exposed. And then the other question she's asking, if the prenuptial puts a strain on the relationship. And my thing is, if you're two educated people, it does not. Prenuptials do not put a strain on a relationship where there's two educated people who love each other, because then they understand, like, I'm not, if you choose to divorce, I'm not responsible for you, right? If we stay together, you get the benefits of being with me. Whatever I have is yours. But if you choose to go, it's no longer ours, it's mine, right?
So what about this one is because I know it happened on a regular. What about the individuals and who would have sponsored you, and he'll treat you, me guide you in a set of things, holding up on your documents, me push, especially people there who's coming to the US.
Mm.
Somebody bring you up, but the guy you beating around the bush, don't want to give you a thing, they're hiding your green card. The guy you doing outside a flunky work on these things is just because they would have been your sponsor and everything to come to this country. Is there a way out of it?
I mean, absolutely, but a lot of times people think that there's no way, but there's actually a way out of a situation like that. I've seen a situation where a young man, he came here, he was in one of those states all the way over northwest, one of those northwestern states. There's hardly Caribbean people over there because those northwest state is pretty cold, right? So he goes there with this woman, and she was very abusive to him. She didn't want to let him, so she told him she put the paperwork in for him to get the green card and the work permits and everything. But after weeks, months passed, he saw no work permit was coming, nothing was coming. The woman literally cleared the mailbox and hid everything from this man. So he couldn't tell whether or not, he checks online and he says he saw it said that they mailed these things to him, but he never got it. When he confronted the wife was very evasive and refused to provide information to him. So then when he contacted my office, I told him what to do. I told him, like, hey, if USCIS said they sent this thing to you, all you need to do is contact them. You could change the address and have them resend it to the new address, right? So he changes the address, they resend it, and then he moved. Now, in a case where the spouse just don't want to file for you, because the spouse is probably thinking, okay, if I do file for you, you might just leave. Because that's a real risk with a lot of these women going and bring somebody from foreign and bring them to this country. The real risk, or the real thing that a lot of them think, is maybe he's just doing it for the green card, right? So a lot of times when they start seeing signs that makes them feel like this man is not genuine, they start acting that way, in that they don't want to do it. They don't want to sponsor the person anymore. And they will just delay it Because, but the fact of the matter is, if most of those women think this thing through, it would be better for him to get the green card, because then you could make him work and support you as long as you not mistreat him. He can be working and supporting you, and you could live an easier life. But most of the women are scared that, okay, he might just leave, and then if he leaves, that's it. So, but a lot of times those women, like you said, they mistreat those people. A lot of the people get mistreated, whether it be a woman, a man. I've had calls with women getting abused by the men. A lot of things happen. And what you should always do in a situation like that, if you're being abused by a US citizen, by at that, is you build a case. You make a record. You take pictures every time the person hits you. You make video every time the person curse at you, try to abuse you mentally, psychologically. You
Yeah,
record that.
take note.
Yeah, you take notes of everything that happened. Then when you're finished, there's a particular petition that you can file for an abuse, as an abused spouse, as abused spouse of a US citizen. You can just move and do that type of petition and get yourself adjusted, change your status without that spouse. The only thing that that petition requires is within a specific time you'll have to file for a divorce. You'll have to divorce that spouse. So yeah, there's
I,
definitely a
I,
way
I
for people.
I would have remember a couple of years back, a young man would have come up to me and he asked me if I know anybody could give you this sort of help, because he married this young lady, and no, it was they know what the married for them, but then the young lady wanted to sleep with him and all these things here, and I didn't think that was part of it. You know me. Anyway, thank God I'm not in those fancy situation, but I'm glad it lies here that could help you. You guys could also take note. Remember, if your spouse is not treating you right, they're yelling at you, talking to you anyhow, even beating you. Because remember, females, y'all just beat too. Not just men, no, y'all beat too. Remember to always take out the phone, record, keep every single thing. And like Delia said, you can come out here, and I think there's a different way you could get your green card also too, right?
Yeah. There's, like I said, if that's the situation is you're being abused, yeah, there's a way. There's a particular petition. You file that petition and get your green card, and you don't even need the spouse after that. But you have to be able to establish you were actually abused. If you can't establish that, you can't get the green card. But once you could establish it, the green card is yours. You don't have to worry.
So so this
You
young man
don't.
said she was right. She named wife. I ain't able with no banging by. I can't able with licks. No. For me, no. If you could withstand the licks, could say that. And make sure you follow Miss Washington, because someday you may need a liar for something. And like these same things, yeah, made the also she does other things too as a liar also too. So she be able to let you guys know more about the other stuff that she do too, so you guys can get the help you guys need also. Not just immigration stuff only. She's gonna be able to explain. I'm not a liar.
Yeah, guys. So, guys, you can also find me. I'm available on Facebook. The name of my firm is Washington Law Firm. You could follow the page on Facebook. I'm on TikTok under my name, obviously, Shellon Washington. But the Facebook page, you can follow Washington Law Firm. It's located in Brooklyn, 455 Utica Avenue, Brooklyn, New York. And we do provide a wide area in our practice. I do have other attorneys also. So the main areas that we practice, we do personal injuries, we do medical malpractice. And guys, just remember that not every wrong that was done to you by a doctor is subject to litigation. And that's something I just have to tell people all the time, because medical malpractice is so complex. It's based on a wrong. The doctor have to fall outside the standard of care. That the doctor have to actually done something wrong in providing treatment to you, and then you'll be able to establish a case there. We do matrimonial, preferably non-contested divorces, and this is why I'm telling you about the pre and the post-nuptial, so you can avoid a contested divorce, which is very mentally draining, mentally, emotionally, and physically draining. I've had a situation with a lady, which I want to mention because I see Roxanne asked another question. Well, it's not really a question. She said, in her opinion, you should only divide the asset if it was accumulated within the marriage. But that is a tricky thing because the problem is people could mix marital with non-marital. You understand? I know this case with this lady. She was married to this man. She had nothing. This is why, too, you have to be careful who you marry, right? She had nothing when she married this man. Then she comes and she says the man, he abused her because when she started dating this man, he had a wife. You understand? He had a wife, but she nonetheless got into a relationship with him. And then eventually his wife died and she became his wife. But the problem
Mhm.
is her mother died and left a property to her. And when she took over the property, the man was actually paying all of the expenses on the property, right? And that's how you cause some property was completely non-marital. The house was non-marital asset and it becomes marital because she had the husband paying the mortgage on the property. But from the time she goes to nursing school and then she start making close to $100,000 a year, she wants to divorce this man. Now she knows he's abusive. Now she knows he's this, he's that, all the bad things she can find to say about him. But she doesn't want to give him any interest in that house that she inherited from her mother, even though he was paying the mortgage on the property. So these are all reasons why you just got to be careful. Be careful with who you marry and make sure you get yourself a pre or post nap, whichever one might be workable in your situation, because it's going to help. Because not every asset that is accumulated during the marriage or asset that was accumulated before could be just separate or marital. Because you could buy something in a marriage if you have a prenup that was never going to be considered marital, depending on how you draft that prenuptial agreement. All right. So I hope that's some of the areas we do. We also do landlord and tenant because I think Kuchi mentioned earlier issues with people might be having with their landlord, but we represent mostly the landlord side. We assist small landlords in New York because the whole process could be really complex and frustrating for a lot of small landlords. We assist small landlords in evicting tenants in New York. All right, so those are the areas mostly we do, and we do tort, general tort. General tort is just a wrong generally against a person or thing, which includes defamation. For some of you who know, I've been filing some defamation suits against a Guyanese social media influencer who's been causing a lot of problems in the Guyanese community. So there's been a lot of lawsuit against that person for defamation. All right. But like I said, the office is located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. Phone number 718-877-3100.
So I have one more question. Since that I like on my job, right? I normally in the cold season when it's very icy, I normally fall along a lot when I go out a lot of buildings and these places. I do fall along a lot, but I didn't know that you could able to gain things out of it because every time I fall when I go icy places, I just laugh because I find it funny.
Okay. You see, the thing is, property owners are required to maintain the walkway in the front of the property based on regulations. So if you go onto somebody's property and you walk in on the walkway and you slip and you fall, you can sue the property owner.
Oh,
If you're within a certain distance, like say if you fall on the road, you can sue the city of New York. If it's in front of a building, a privately owned building, and they fail to clean it up, they fail to, they're supposed to put the ice or whatever, you can sue the building owner. So if you slip or fall and injure yourself, but the main thing is you have to be injured. Don't forget that part. It has to be an injury. So if you get, because if you slip and fall and you could get up and keep going, then no. But if you slip and you fall and you injure yourself, then you go seek medical attention. And also, there's another problem. If you're doing it while you're working, you are entitled to workers' compensation, not to sue necessarily the owner of those buildings because you got injured while you're working. And if that's the situation, in some cases you could get both workers comp and you could sue the property owner depending on the circumstances.
fake love is saying don't get to call the ambulance.
What did you say?
Some people just have evil intentions.
Well, that is true. That is true. That's why you have to be extra careful. I see Sherry saying, especially in this generation, you gotta have a FBI agent out there.
But
That
Sherry, did you see the question? Sherry said, I'm guessing all states have different laws and
Oh
rules.
yeah, 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 yeah. But like there's certain things that is universal. Like a prenup is universal. Like you could go in any state and get a prenuptial. You understand? The difference is when they said every state the law is different. Like there's some states that deals with divorce is different. The divorce law might be different. Like in New York, we have no fault divorce, meaning you don't have to have any type of reason. You could just have irreconcilable differences and you could get a divorce based on that, right? It just depends.
I hope I don't have to go through all these drama. Pray to God that everything goes well and I ain't got a debt signing prenup nor postnup. I ain't got nothing, so
I think
all
I
they,
think
all they
I think
getting is
would be
love, tender and care and attention. I got no money for give nobody and no thing. If I'm married, it's married for love, not for no breakup. I have one
I
more
think
marriage
I
in me.
think no, what I think you should keep in mind, I mean, that's the goal that everybody wants to marry for love. But if love was sufficient, we wouldn't have half the divorces that we have. You understand? So I think you go into it with the mindset that this is, you want to go in it for it to last forever and it's for love, but you also want to be prudent. So, I mean, that's my take. And thank you, Ms. Bacchus. I see Ms. Bacchus is giving some appreciation. Thank you. All right. So, I mean, it was good being here tonight and providing information and some of the questions that were asked. I think we had some really great questions from the audience. And I want to thank you guys for participating. Just remember the office is located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. And the phone number is right there. It's 718-877-3100.
So you guys get a lot of idea tonight. Yeah, not to be scammers. Married for love, not for asset and kinds. Don't do like the TikTokers. Somebody was mentioning something about common law.
You see, we don't have common law marriages here in New York. Neither is it relevant in New Jersey, but the common law is in Guyana. Guyana definitely have common law marriages. We do recognize that you don't need to be married to somebody in Guyana in order to get assets. As long as you could show that you were living with the person for a certain amount of time, you'll be entitled to assets from the person if the two of you maybe build together. But fortunately, in the United States, we don't recognize common law marriages. So you can live with a person for from 1988 to 2025, and you will get nothing. You will get zilch, zero. The only thing you can do is argue that you have a what is called a constructive trust in any asset as it relates to real estate. Like if you purchase real estate, you put your money, but your name is not on the deed. But otherwise, you will get nothing if you live in a common law relationship in the United States. In the state of New York or New Jersey, I don't know about all the states, but you in particularly there, you get nothing. At the end of the day, you get nothing. All right, we don't
I
have
have
to.
one. I have one more question for you. It's not even a question. It's just something that some. Well, when I did get married, I did sign up for life insurance, and the young lady keep asking me many times if I'm feeling sick. You know what I mean, and all these things. Tell you, like every month she would want to know if I'm sick, if I'm feeling good, if I want anything. I wondered if that was any sign of her trying to do me something.
Well, I hope not. I hope nobody's trying to take you out for insurance money.
Yeah, feel free. Make sure y'all follow Miss Washington on Facebook. Also follow her on TikTok, and she will be coming. I mean, more often, and me feeding us with a lot of things that we need to know, especially to the people that who living in the US, because some of y'all may able to get a bag, some of y'all may able not to get a bag. So, Miss Washington, I'm gonna say thank you for coming through. I hope that you do come more often so that people could get more used to you and some of the stuff that you do.
Thank you so much, Kunchi, for having me tonight. And it was indeed a pleasure being here and sharing with the audience. Thank you guys so much. You're a great audience. And I hope I'll see you guys again soon. Have a great
Thank
night
you so much.
and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
You too, Miss Washington.
All right. Thank you.